Good morning everyone and welcome to the October Cabinet meeting for Durham County Council. My name is Councillor Simon Hennig, leader of Durham County Council and chair of this meeting. This meeting is taking place on Wednesday the 14th of October and is being recorded live to the Council's website, where it will be available to be viewed for a minimum of 6 months. Please be aware that any footage from the meeting can be used in subsequent media broadcasts. I would like to give a warm welcome to members, officers and any members of the public or media who are watching this live feed of the meeting. As ever, before I commence with the formal business on the agenda, I would like to cover some of the housekeeping issues for us all to follow. For those participating in the meeting, if you could please only speak when invited to speak by myself as chair. Keep your microphone on mute at all times unless invited to speak. If you do wish to speak, please type RTS in the chat function and that will indicate that you wish to speak. And please bear in mind that all participants can see the messages in the chat function. Once invited to speak, please introduce yourself with your name and position, unless you've already done so earlier in the meeting. If you're having issues with connectivity, try switching off your video and just use the audio function. And if connectivity issues continue, you may have to leave the meeting and rejoin to get a better signal. If I lose my connection, please note that Councillor Alan Napier, Deputy Leader of the Council, will take over in my absence until connection is restored. I'm not aware of any apologies this morning, so all members of the Cabinet are present. Just also to say that we've got a member question from Councillor Shuttleworth, who I'll bring in at item 5. And I'll also be introducing Councillor Ivan Jewell to speak to the report in item 10. So if we can move on to the items on the agenda this morning. Item 1, public questions. I understand that no questions were submitted in advance of the meeting in accordance with procedure rules. Therefore, there are no questions for this part of the meeting. If I move to item number 2, minutes. Can we have a mover and also then a seconder to the minutes of the 16th of September 2020, please?
Move the minutes, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Napier. Can I have a seconder, please?
Happy to second the minutes, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Hovels. If we can agree that the minutes are a correct record, if there's any dissent, please note that in the chat function. Can we agree that, please?
Agree the minutes, Chair.
Thank you, and no indications have been received, so I can confirm the minutes have been agreed. Item 3, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from members? Nobody's indicating. Thank you. So we'll move on to item number 4, the medium-term financial plan 11, 2021-22 to 2024-25. If I can ask John Hewitt, Corporate Director of Resources, to present this report, please. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. John Hewitt, Corporate Director Resources for Durham County Council. Chair, this is the first report on the Council's budget planning for next financial year 2021-22 and our longer-term, medium-term financial plan. The report, as written, does contain a number of caveats, and in particular, the uncertainty over the spending review and the subsequent local government finance settlement, and also uncertainty over future COVID costs and the extent to which they'll be reimbursed by government, particularly running into next financial year. The report reminds Cabinet that the Fair Funding Review has been deferred until 22-23 financial year at the earliest, and that also means that the move to 75% business rate retention will also be deferred. We also have significant uncertainty over our future grant levels, our short-term funding for social care and our high needs schools DSG grant, and combined this uncertainty makes planning very difficult, and hence the caveats that are in the report in front of Cabinet this morning. In terms of the detail in the budget and the medium-term financial plan assumes a cash flat grant settlement across the MTFP and a rollover of one-off funding into 21-22. This results in a projected savings requirement of 9.5 million for 21-22, and we are projecting savings of 42.7 million over the next 4 years based on the assumptions that have been built into the plan. So the key message from the report is that even a cash flat grant settlement and increased council tax levels, should that be decided, does not meet the cost pressures that the council is facing and will require savings to be made next year and into the medium term. The position of the budget support reserve is set out in paragraph 10, and that totals 16.4 million, and we are likely to need a combination of savings and reserves to set the budget next year and to be able to balance the budget when we set it in February Council. Chair, the recommendations are set out in paragraph 12 of the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Can I now invite Councillor Alan Napier, Deputy Leader of the Council, to speak, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Morning, everyone. I'm Alan Napier. I'm the Deputy Leader of the Council. I also have the finance portfolio within the Cabinet. Chairman, as we have heard, setting the budget for 2021-22 is going to be extremely challenging because of the uncertainty over the spending review and the financial impact of coronavirus. So, Chairman, are we going to see another spending round? I think the only certainty that we have is the uncertainty that we're all facing, Chairman. The medium-term financial plan we have set out is based on many assumptions. We will change as we get closer to setting the budget. It is important for Cabinet to note, however, that even a cash flat settlement will mean that the Council still has to make savings because our pressures in such areas as social care, school transport and increases in demand right across our services outstrip our ability to raise income. Chairman, we've known for some time our income from council tax and business rates hasn't kept rate with the increase in demand in our services, Chairman. In total, we are estimating further savings of almost 43 million over the next 4 years, although this assumes no further cuts to local government funding are made by the government. We can only hope that this is the case. I do fear we will once again have to work with the 1 year settlement in local government, which is going to make longer term planning very, very difficult. For next year, we are currently estimating savings of 12.8 million to balance the budget. We've already identified savings of 3.3 million, which leaves savings of 9.5 million to find. Cabinet will be aware we have a budget support reserve available to help manage the budget next year, and this will be more important than ever as we look to balance the budget through a combination of measures. So, Chairman, it's just as well that we have the foresight to have prudent strategic financial management as we move forward, because this will be our lifeline as we move forward over the coming years. We are, of course, continuing to work on additional savings for 21-22, which will be considered as we finalise the budget, although I have to say this is now getting more and more difficult. Chairman, this is a detailed report which provides an initial position on the MTFP for 21-22 budget. Officers are working on reviewing the potential impact of coronavirus on income and expenditure for next year, and the outcome of this will be included in future reports to Cabinet. Chairman, I would ask Cabinet to note the significant uncertainty we face in setting the budget. I once again urge the government to provide us with the certainty and resources we desperately need to be able to plan and support our local communities and businesses over the coming years. Happy to move the recommendations as set out in the report, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Napier. As we've heard, we are facing a continued period of financial uncertainty as we head into MTFP 11. We've faced a decade of austerity already, and significant budget pressures remain in adult and children's services, among others. COVID continues, and this adds further to the uncertainty. And clearly the outlook for all councils is very challenging at this time. Further delays, as we've heard, have been announced in terms of the comprehensive spending review and the fair funding review. It is possible, as we've just heard, that we will receive another 1 year settlement and also quite late in the calendar year, which will of course make budget planning particularly difficult. In these circumstances, I would like to thank our officers for setting out this report as clearly as they're able at the present time. we may well face further savings that could be significant, and that is outlined in the reports, but as yet there is no certainty. I have written on behalf of the Council and the Association of North East Councils to the government to seek clarity on a number of issues which will help us in terms of our planning moving forward, and clearly if we get responses, obviously I will let members know at that point. In the meantime, our budget timetable is set out in paragraph 31. It is truncated this year because of the factors, the uncertainty that we've talked about. The key period is likely to be towards the end of December and then January before we can make recommendations to the February Cabinet and Council. So that will be the process moving forward. Until then, I'm very happy to second the recommendations which can be found in paragraph 12 of the report. Can I ask if there's anybody else who wishes to come in and speak on this item? I'm not seeing any indications. If so, the recommendations have been moved and seconded. Can we move to agree that, please? Again, if there's any dissent, can you indicate that through the chat function?
Agreed.
Can I ask if that's agreed? Thank you. And there's no indications of dissent, so I can confirm that that report is agreed. Thank you. We move on to item 5 on the agenda, which is the County Durham Plan adoption. I'm going to ask Amy Harhoff, Corporate Director of Regeneration, Economy and Growth, to present the report. After that, I'm going to ask Councillor Shuttleworth to ask his question, and then I'll ask Councillor Marshall to respond to that. So if I can ask Amy Harhoff, please, to introduce the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everybody. I'm pleased to be able to put this report to Cabinet today, which seeks support from Cabinet for the adoption of the County Durham Plan. This report, like any local plan, has been under development for a number of years, and the reason that that length of development is required is to ensure that the County Council take due account of substantial technical evidence, substantial public engagement and consultation, and report the plan itself to the Planning Inspectorate, who ultimately recommend that the report is sound. This report to Cabinet therefore seeks approval for the County Durham Plan following the final Inspector's report, which was received in September of this year. This report will also be referred to full Council on the 21st of October, which is next week. The County Durham Plan is a key enabler to supporting and creating vibrant communities, and particularly our Council vision aspirations for more and better jobs, high quality homes, high quality built and natural environment, and particularly supporting the enabling infrastructure to support growth and the environment. Local plan scrutiny is a comprehensive process to ensure that we get the plan right for the county. Durham County Council commenced this process in June 2016 with a submission to the Planning Inspectorate in June 2019. The Planning Inspector provided his first report to us in February 2020. The plan was found sound at this point, subject to a number of modifications which are outlined in this report. As part of the process, those modifications are then reported and consulted on. We received 102 responses to that consultation, which included 503 comments, and we also received 1 petition. Following full consideration of those responses, the Inspector published the final report in September 2020, which is included in this paper. As soon as reasonably practical and subject to the adoption, the Council will make available the plan and all relevant and associated documents which are set out in section 7 of this Cabinet report. Specific policies are set out in section 12, and particularly including the delivery of over 24,000 homes and making available over 300 hectares for new employment land, which will provide for critical development across the county during the plan period. The main modifications which the inspector requested and are included in the report are set out in section 19 report and were subject to the further consultation which I articulated previously. All saved policies from the former district plans will now be replaced by the new local plans, and for reference in the report, those district plans are noted in section 21 of this Cabinet report. It's also particularly important to highlight the Equalities Impact Assessment work which takes place for the local plan. When exercising its functions, the Council has a duty under section 149 of the Equality Act 2010 to have due regard to the need to A, eliminate discrimination, harassment and victimisation and any other conduct that is prohibited under the 2010 Equality Act. B, to advance equality of opportunity between persons who share a relevant protected characteristic and persons who do not share it. And finally, to foster good relations between persons who share a relevant and protected characteristics and persons who do not share it. And it's important to report to Cabinet today that an equality impact assessment has been undertaken to inform the plan as it's progressed. The equality impact assessment was reviewed and updated throughout the plan process, and no negative impacts on equality are identified in the equality impact, which indicates that the plan itself is likely to have a positive impact across all protected groups. Finally, I would just highlight, Chair, that relevant stakeholders have been consulted and where possible, their comments have been used to shape the plan to ensure the Council meets its public sector equality duty. The plan has been developed, consulted on and independently examined in accordance with the relevant legislation and having had due regard to all relevant factors. It is not considered that any issues have been identified which would prevent the adoption of the County Durham plan from an equalities impact perspective. I'd finally just highlight that the full recommendations are set out in section 10 of this report. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Amy, for that introduction. I would now like to ask Councillor John Shuttleworth, please, to ask your question.
Yeah, Councillor John Shuttleworth, County Councillor for Weardale. Thank you, Chairman. The Inspector of the Plan makes specific note on page 13 of the report that the plan's housing requirement does not attempt to predict the impact that changing economic circumstances might have on demographic behaviour. It goes on to say that whilst the 300 hectares of employment land allocated in the plan may have potential to accommodate over 32,000 jobs when fully developed, they are not expected to be realised during the period of the plan, that's 15 years. And that there will be significant changes in the numbers of people employed in town centres, existing employment sites and other existing buildings, and contains no specific target for net job growth. And therefore my question is, given the uncertainty in the county and indeed the country, what economic benefits will adopting the County Durham plan bring to the people of this county? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shuttleworth. I'm going to ask Councillor Carl Marshall to respond. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Councillor Shuttleworth, for the question. And obviously, I think you're right to point out that we're living in very, very uncertain times. The coronavirus pandemic is having a huge impact on all of our lives, including on the economy. And the county plan sets out the planning proposals to enable almost 25,000 homes and the potential to create over 32,000 jobs, which I'm sure you'll agree is critical to our local economy. In addition to this, central government have recently published a planning white paper, which, if the proposals are introduced, will have a major detrimental impact on planning and development, including local plans. And in the case of County Durham, this would have a detrimental impact on development proposals, growth, and potentially our recovery, not to mention reduce the rights of our communities and elected members to properly engage within the planning process. Given this uncertainty, it's therefore extremely timely that our hard work as a county has taken us to a point where we're about to adopt the County Durham plan. Having an up-to-date adopted local plan will promote sustainable development and allow us to apply an effective plan-led approach with a plan that is sound, based on up-to-date evidence and is consistent with national policy supporting growth, development and the recovery. And Councillor Shuttleworth will note that the inspector sort of said our plan was sound in his findings at the following the recent examination in public. As a result, the plan will provide much needed certainty to businesses and communities at a really difficult time, encouraging investment and facilitating appropriate development, including meeting our housing needs. The plans also seeks to meet the needs of our rural communities by having flexible policies and encouragement for all businesses to develop, recognising in particular the opportunities that the increasing visitor economy will have in the future. The plan will build on the current pipeline of investment in the county, which is forecasted over £3.1 billion investment, and this will help to facilitate the forthcoming towns and village investment plan, which we're considering later on the agenda, and ensure confidence for developers and making sure these improvements for the benefit of residents of our county. As a result, the plan will deliver new jobs directly on our allocated employment sites and in construction, and indirectly through supporting employment and services, allowing us to help support the local economy and aid the county's recovery from the coronavirus pandemic.
Thank you very much, Councillor Marshall. Thank you again to Councillor Shuttleworth for your question. If I can now ask Councillor Marshall to speak to the report, please.
Thanks, Chair. Could I just start by putting on record my thanks to the team who've worked tirelessly over the past few years to get this plan to the stage it's at. It's been a great effort. The county plan seeks to build on our proven track record of attracting investment, including a pipeline of investment and projects estimated at over £3 billion, with the thousands of jobs this will create. Seeing these key sites come to fruition with flexible policies linked to housing and infrastructure in the most sustainable locations is key to ensuring we maximise the opportunities this plan can deliver. The plan, of course, is about more than just the economy, Chair, and it delivers the housing that people need where they're needed. It helps us to address the cause of climate change and adapt to its effects. It sets out a restriction on takeaways in our town centres. It identifies infrastructure to support new development and to relieve congestion and improve air quality. It protects our important landscape and natural and historic environment, and allows the right businesses and housing to meet the needs of our rural communities. Work on the plan, like Amy said, began in 2016, has involved a number of rounds of consultation, and I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank everybody from across the counties giving us their views, as they've undoubtedly helped to make this plan better as a result. I'd also like to thank the Plan Inspector, William Fieldhouse, who's undertaken the examination of the plan in a very professional, timely and transparent manner. Having an up-to-date adopted local plan will promote sustainable development and allow us to apply an effective plan-led approach with a plan that is sound, based on up-to-date evidence and is consistent with national policy. It will also aid the county's recovery from the coronavirus pandemic and provide relative certainty to businesses and communities to facilitate appropriate development to support the local economy and meet the housing needs and resist the inappropriate development. I'm therefore happy to propose that Cabinet recommend to full council that it adopts the County Durham Plan, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Marshall. Can I now have a seconder to the report? Councillor Shaw.
Thank you, Chair. The County Durham Plan represents a great opportunity to ensure the right type and mix of housing is delivered to meet current and future needs, and it does so by requiring a higher level of affordable housing of between 10 and 25% across the county. It requires 66% of all housing to be suitable for older people, and it ensures that we build a better mix of housing to suit everyone and that we can be proud of in terms of size, design and open space, and also ensuring that all developments pays its way and we get the right infrastructure, including education and health contributions for all of our communities. The plan is a key document ensuring a positive future for County Durham. I'm therefore very happy to second the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. If I can then ask other members if they want to come in. Councillor Patterson, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm Councillor Andrea Patterson. I'm the Cabinet Member for Corporate Services and Rural Issues. Chairman, I find it extremely disappointing that the relief roads will not be going ahead. Our road connections and developing infrastructure for our rural communities are absolutely crucial if we're going to help them grow and prosper in the future. I know in particular the Western Relief Road gained a lot of support and it was discussed in detail at scrutiny. However, the inspector has made the decision that it's not justified, so we will of course look at other connectivity options for our rural areas as we move forward. Chairman, what I am really pleased about is that the plan takes account of the rurality of our county And of course, it's important that we now work with local people and partners to ensure that we get the very best for our rural communities. There's always going to be different views in communities and we can't please everyone, but for me, this is a sound plan and there are two key important issues in adopting this plan today. One is that the plan offers that flexibility that Councillor Marshall talked about to adapt and change according to local needs. And the second, Chair, is that it's extremely important that we do have an agreed plan in place for the county to avoid any unwanted developments taking place. Chairman, I'd be working very closely with Councillor Marshall to ensure the voice of our rural communities is heard and that we maximise the opportunities for the plan and what the plan provides for us going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. I haven't seen any other indications from people wanting to come in. So the recommendations have been moved and seconded, and as previously, if there is any dissent, can you please indicate that through the chat function? Can I then ask if the report is agreed, please?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you very much, and no dissent has been indicated, so I can therefore confirm that that report is agreed. Thank you for that, colleagues. We move on to item number 6, Council Housing Delivery, Durham County Council Development Potential. Again, if I can ask Amy Harhoff, Corporate Director of Regeneration, Economy and Growth, to present the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. This report details the outline business case to deliver up to 500 new council homes across the county, with a focus primarily on elderly accommodation and bungalow, and this report builds on a previous report to Cabinet in March 2020 of this year, which agreed the strategic case for intervention from the council in terms of the delivery of new homes. The proposal itself seeks to particularly meet two key objectives from our adopted 2019 housing strategy, which is firstly to maximise the delivery of affordable homes across the county, and secondly to deliver support to older people to live independently. It's important to highlight that the council building programme will also sit alongside and support the delivery of affordable homes delivered by registered social landlords, and section 33 of this report tables the delivery of our registered social landlords to the contribution of new homes in the county. However, it is important to highlight that although those homes are crucially important, we do have a high target in the county for affordable homes, and of our total number of homes delivered each year, we are required to deliver 836 affordable homes, which unfortunately is a target that's not met across the county. And therefore, beyond the work that our registered social landlords do, we are proposing that a council house build programme supplements that delivery to deliver vital new homes across the county. And beyond the delivery of new homes, it's also important to highlight that the proposal includes a significant investment across the county that will provide jobs and growth at this crucial time as we see the economic impacts of the COVID pandemic. We have in the report highlighted 3 options which were considered in terms of stimulating and delivering new homes to ensure that best value is delivered, and they are outlined in section 8 of this report. We are recommending to council that the best option is to deliver new council homes. It's important to highlight to Cabinet that there are a number of considerations that we take in setting out the business case to deliver new council homes. These are outlined in section 3 and include key elements such as the need for Homes England subsidy to support our programme and the requirement for the council to establish a housing revenue account, known as a HRA, at a point in the programme at which we meet 200 homes. In detail, the report provides for up to 500 homes and focused on bungalows as an identified need across the county. The required subsidy per property is £60,000 per property, and that includes both the delivery of the home and, of course, the associated land development. This is with a rental income covering £80,000, so the total per property is estimated at £140,000. The council will apply for Homes England grant, which can be secured up to £35,000 per home, and therefore the remaining gap in delivery is £25,000 per property. And we are proposing today, as part of this report, that the council agrees to fund the remaining just over £12 million of capital to support the delivery of those 500 homes. This will also include the council giving to the programme its land from its disposal programme to allow for the developments to take place, and that is valued at £3 million. So this report sets out a total direct council investment of just over £15 million, which will support a total investment in new homes as part of a wider programme of £70 million across the county. Subject to the outcome of today's Cabinet, a further report will be tabled early in 2021, which will set out the further detail required to establish the programme for new homes, and this will include a full sites appraisal, a phasing plan for the delivery of the 500 homes, and include critical aspects such as a rental strategy. The detailed recommendations are set out in section 23 of this report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Amy. If we can now move to Councillor Kevin Shaw, please, Cabinet Portfolio Holder for Housing and Assets, to speak to the report, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Having access to a good quality home is so important for the well-being of our residents, and most people take for granted that they have a roof over their heads that they can afford and that their home is both warm and secure with all of the modern facilities that we expect today. Unfortunately, that isn't the case for all. And on a daily basis, I talk to people who are desperate for an affordable home. One of the key priorities of the Council is our housing strategy, which aims to ensure that everyone has access to a decent home. The strategy acknowledges that the provision of affordable homes is something that we need to work hard on, and the Council is committed with our partners to help deliver the affordable homes target we have until 2035. Chair, the report before us today highlights one of the greatest challenges facing the Council today. Paragraph 19 tells us that in every one of the 19 years from 2016 to 2035, there needs to be an average, a total of 836 affordable homes per year built in the county to meet current and future housing needs. A high percentage of these needs need to be for affordable rented properties. This is a significant number, and it's a real challenge for the Council and our partners who are working hard to deliver new homes in the county. But there is a problem, and it's not just a local problem, it's a national problem. There are simply not enough homes being built. And we know 5 years into our 19-year period that we are falling behind. We are not building the new affordable homes that we need to. And since 2016, the gap between numbers being built and numbers needed is growing. But these are not just numbers. This represents families who do not have their own home to live in or who are living in poor conditions. It represents families whose children are not getting the best start in life. It represents families whose physical and mental health will be adversely impacted on a daily basis. It represents many older people who are not able to move out of the homes which no longer meet their needs into homes specifically designed for their needs. And by not building enough homes for the elderly, further opportunity for younger people is also lost. So, Chair, I welcome this report from the Director of Regeneration and Economic Growth. It represents a very positive and significant move by the County Council, and I've asked for a further report in the new year on other ways in which we can increase the provision of affordable homes in the county. The Director has clearly outlined the business case for our council housing delivery, and it is very important that we deliver in the places of greatest need. And that is why we're also working on producing targeted delivery plans. The report provides the details that were requested in March this year and concludes that the Council should embark on a council housing building programme of scale. As the Council will now be able to build again subject to Cabinet approval and in view of the level of investment I'm asking the Cabinet to make, I think it is important that the Council itself has the asset on its books. I support the proposal to work in partnership with the local RSLs to secure development and management and maintenance services This is a sensible view in view of the fact that the council no longer has these skills in-house, although it would only be prudent that the council review this when future economies of scale will allow it. The £1 million that the council has already agreed to in its general fund budget for this year and next will help start this process. I've already met with officers on the next steps should Cabinet agree the report today, and I can advise that a further report will seek permission to begin the first phase of development, which will come before Cabinet early in the new year. It will also provide further technical information on the programme. Chair, this report should excite us all. It's fundamentally why we all became a councillor, to make decisions that will have a positive impact on people's lives. I know that 12.5 million from the capital programme is a significant commitment, but I think the investment will make a massive difference to the lives of so many of our residents right across the county. The recommendations are at paragraph 23, and I formally move them.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shaw. Can we have a seconder to the report, please? Councillor Marshall.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. In seconding Councillor Shaw's motion, I'd like to focus on another aspect of the report, and that's the economic impact that this programme will make. The programme, like Councillor Shaw has outlined, will see £70 million worth of work coming into the county. And in paragraph 14, I'm very pleased to see that the intention is to maximise the take-up of contracts by local builders and the wider construction supply chain under our procurement initiative aimed at local wealth building in the county. And I look forward to hearing more about that in the future. The current economic conditions are unprecedented, and we simply don't know how long COVID-19 will impact. Agreeing a £70 million construction programme can only be of economic benefit to the county. Ultimately, however, this report's about people, and it's about the council using its powers and finances to help give people of all ages a decent home, something unfortunately some people cannot take for granted. Chair, I'm happy to second the motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Marshall. Can I ask if there's anyone else wishing to speak on this item? I can't see any indications. So if we can then turn to agreeing the recommendations. Again, if there's any dissent, please indicate that through the chat function. The report has been moved and seconded. Can I hear if that is agreed, please?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you very much, and no indication of dissent in the chat function, so I can confirm that that report is agreed. So if we can then move on to item 7 on the agenda, Towns and Villages Strategy. And again, if I can ask Amy Harhoff, Corporate Director of Regeneration, Economy and Growth, to present the report. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Chair. This report seeks Cabinet approval for a refocused approach to the regeneration of our towns and villages, with a particular investment in towns and villages as set out in this report, but particularly ensuring that that investment is aligned to existing budget, to proposals and to priorities that have been identified by our communities. It's an opportunity to deliver against the County Durham vision, and with a particular focus on some of the most deprived communities in County Durham. This does follow a report from the end of 2018, and during that time we've been looking to the strategy for towns and villages, which is set out in this report, as well as developing some pilot projects which are also set out in this report. This fund does seek to respond to the needs of the communities and to ensure that we as a council are listening to and responding to those priorities as identified by the communities, and addressing key issues such as vacant buildings or the condition of the environment. And this fund would allow the council the flexibility to quickly target those interventions to support the regeneration of communities. The towns and villages, as I said at the start, will need to be aligned to existing regeneration. It will be targeted to accelerate delivery and address community priorities. It's really important to highlight that this is in addition to existing area budgets, but provides a really important opportunity to align and maximise that resource. It's also part of a bigger and strategic regeneration activity, and particularly supported by strategies such as those that have been discussed today, like our local plan and our housing strategy. Since It's also important to highlight the context in which this report comes to Cabinet today, as we are starting to see the effects of the COVID pandemic on our economy, and therefore I'm keen to set out the opportunities to regeneration, economy and employment that this fund will create. The regeneration itself will be focused particularly to the most deprived areas, and we'll do that on an evidence-based approach, including an analysis of our medium super output areas. Towns and villages is in addition to a £38 million investment that's already taken place in our town centres, and is complementary to the current operational budgets of over 750 million across the county. And finally, just in the context investments, to highlight that towns and villages will also sit as part of a wider public-private sector pipeline across the county, which we estimate to be worth over £3 billion to the county. The report seeks to support the council vision to 2025, particularly of more and better jobs, long and independent lives and our connected communities. And section 22 of this report sets out the core themes for investment which the Towns and Villages strategy will be focused on, and identifies the links to our adopted council vision. Section 18 to 21 also highlights a number of proposed pilot projects and seeks the delegation to continue with those investments whilst the broader programme is developed, and they are highlighted as the redevelopment of the former Easington School, the Digital High Streets Initiative, which covers a number of our towns across the county, including Bishop Auckland, and the redevelopment of Sacriston High Street. I also wanted to highlight the importance this fund will have to ensure that rural communities are engaged. And within the final section of our report, section 30, we identified a proposed engagement with our area action partnerships, which builds on previous engagement in feeding into this plan. I'm proposing to Cabinet that a further report will come to Cabinet in the new year, which will identify a more detailed set of proposals in the context of the Towns and Villages strategy. And important to highlight that alongside the Council House Build report, Towns and Villages investment will also be subject to the Council's strong principles to deliver social value across the county and ensure that our local supply chain benefit from our investments. The detailed recommendations are set out in section 10 of this report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. If I can now ask Councillor Marshall, as Cabinet Portfolio Holder for Economic Regeneration, to speak to the report, please.
Thanks, Simon. Over the past 10 years, the council's continued to prioritise the regeneration of the county, dealing with the enormous financial pressures of austerity and the loss of some of the previous regional funding programmes, such as the single programme and the Coalfield housing programmes. Colleagues will remember back in 2010 when the coalition government ripped up a lot of these regional funding streams that were vital to our communities right across the county, including a dedicated pot of 50 million a year that we had to spend on programmes and regeneration activities, just like what we're trying to bring forward here. And we're starting to see the impact of that austerity come through now. I think despite that, the councils continue to work with partners to try and modernise our town centres, and we've invested heavily in helping modernise and improve housing conditions right across the county as well. As a result of this regeneration investment, we've continued the transformation of Seaham, which is now on the way to being a key visitor destination. We've seen work in Bishop Auckland and Durham City, and we'll continue to look to deliver improvements to the county's housing stock, addressing fuel poverty to ensure that all residents have warm homes, and bringing forward selective licensing to help tackle poor landlords and the disruptive problems tenants can cause. Much of this work forms a wider £750 million programme of regeneration and investment, which continues today despite the current challenges from the pandemic. However, despite this investment, the pace of change in our main centres and communities has quickened, and both residents and businesses are clear in the need for further action. We recognise that our communities have different issues and opportunities, and the Towns and Villages strategies will ensure we have a localised response based on evidence and drawn upon not only council spending, including locus-focused AP projects, but also the important investments made by our communities, such as the housing providers, town and parish councils, property owners, and a host of other organisations that we're working with. The strategy itself seeks to add to the current regeneration activity and projects with a clear focus on improving benefits to our communities. It will do this by aligning current investment and initiatives to ensure that local priorities are enhanced with the additional funding directed to the most disadvantaged communities. Chair, this is very much about the council resourcing the need, and we've heard Councillor Napier talk about that several times in the past. We've already begun to supplement the ongoing regeneration with some brilliant pilot programmes to address pressing community issues and explore how we can best join up both current expenditure and new investments. Through these pilots, we've already begun to roll out free town centre Wi-Fi, increase the type of support available to work with property owners to reconfigure or convert property and help consolidate our town and village centres. We've brought forward local regeneration programmes in Easington Colliery, Sacriston and Willington, addressing residents' concerns through new investment and reordering service delivery. And alongside these efforts, we continue to maintain our focus on providing a high quality environment. Through this strategy, we expect to see more targeted regeneration activity coming forward, with initial consultation amongst the APs identifying 5 clear themes, those being housing and community, environment and health, built environment, transport and connectivity, and a focused programme of strategic investment to ensure that our town centres change to meet the needs of users now and into the future. These themes in the wider towns and villages strategy will draw on the evidence we have gathered about County Durham and the information our partners have provided about their current and planned investments. As we move forward towards setting out our delivery plan, identifying activity to be at a local level, we will also ensure the needs and gaps seen locally can be reported through our APs to ensure the strategy and the following delivery plan continues to be sense checked against local aspirations. Since setting these themes, we have of course seen further unprecedented changes such as the COVID pandemic. This is further accelerating the changes faced by all of our communities, and while there are significant pressures, we must also look to actively support further changes as new opportunities emerge. Chair, I believe the approach set out in the Town and Villages strategy provides the framework and the resources to help meet the current and future needs of residents. I'm therefore delighted to say that we're going to be working with local residents and partners over the coming months, and I look forward to bringing forward a delivery plan in the new year. And on that basis, Chair, I would like to propose that Cabinet approve the recommendations as set out in the report.
Thank you, Councillor Marshall. If we can then have a seconder to the report, Councillor Shaw, please.
Thank you, Chair. The Towns and Villages strategy recognises that all of our settlements, from the city through to our smaller villages, are experiencing great change, from the way people shop to an increasing focus on walking and cycling. In responding to this change, the Towns and Villages strategy allows us to move beyond a one-size-fits-all approach and bring together solutions to local issues that meet residents' needs, improving the environment, converting vacant and unused buildings and rebuilding our settlements from within. Chair, this strategy focuses on helping deliver a positive future for County Durham and its residents. I am happy to second the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. Can I ask if there's anybody else who wishes to speak on this report? If not, just before coming on to agreeing or not the recommendations, just to mention that there's an opportunity for all of the public to contribute to our towns and villages work with the forthcoming meetings arranged by Area Action Partnership across the county, which will be taking place in the last 2 weeks of October and the first couple of weeks of November. And I very much look forward to speaking at those meetings over the next few weeks as we ask people directly for feedback in terms of the most important things that we can be doing to regenerate our towns and villages moving forward. So we very much look forward to those events. The report in front of us has been moved and seconded. Again, if there's any dissent, please do indicate that through the chat function. Can I ask if those recommendations are agreed, please?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. And there's no dissent indicated, so I can confirm, therefore, that that report is agreed. So if we can then move on to item 8, which is the Durham Safeguarding Children's Partnership Annual Report 2019-20. If I can ask John Pearce, Corporate Director of Children and Young People's Services, to present the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. John Pearce, Corporate Director, Children and People Services, and I'm delighted to introduce the annual report of the Durham Safeguarding Children's Partnership. So working together 2018, which is statutory guidance, sets out the requirements for all local areas to have a statutory children's partnership, and the partnership is required as part of that guidance to publish an annual report. Each Safeguarding Children's Partnership has 3 statutory partners, which are the Council, the Clinical Commissioning Group and the Police, and they all hold an equal responsibility for overseeing safeguarding arrangements within the area. And the partnership also has an independent chair scrutineer whose role is to provide challenge into the system and to provide some independence in the system. The statutory partners come together to form the executive group, which provides leadership for the partnership arrangements. And this is the first annual report that's been published under the new arrangements that were established in County Durham in April 2019. The report provides an overview and goes into 5 core areas. It produces information showing the safeguarding data and profile for County Durham. It outlines the governance and structure of the partnership. It also updates on the 5 focus areas for the partnership for 2018-19, for 2019-20. It outlines the performance and quality assurance mechanisms that are in place, and also the outcome of external scrutiny and progress against recommendations from external scrutiny. And it also sets out the priority areas of focus for 2020-21. The annual report is included in the papers, along with the covering report. Cabinet are asked to endorse it for publication, and the full recommendation is set out in paragraph 8. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, John. If we can now then turn to the report and recommendations, can I invite Councillor Olwyn Gunn to speak to the report, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And the Durham Safeguarding Children's Annual Report. This illustrates the work of this key multi-agency partnership in what has been a transition year from a board into the current working arrangements. The report shows how the Durham Safeguarding Children's Partnership has operated within the parameters of a strong set of vision and values. It sets out achievements made over the last year, and it explains how work continues to ensure those children and young people who are most vulnerable in our communities are kept safe. That's crucial. The report highlights the extensive work carried out in response to the joint targeted area inspection recommendations, and I'm certain that the improvements made will enhance the service that children and their families receive from multi-agency partners. This is a very crucial aspect of their work. The report also describes the positive and innovative introduction of the Young People's Commissioner, introduced to ensure the voice of the child is heard. The Young People's Commissioner has an important role in the independent scrutiny of the partnership. The report evidences the work of partners and their commitment to make a difference locally. And I'm pleased to see that prevention, early intervention and joined up working are key features of their plans. I recommend that Cabinet endorses this report, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gunn. If I can then ask for a seconder to the report, Councillor Hovels, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Councillor Hovels and I have the portfolio for health and community safety. This morning, the safeguarding report is a very important document. We all have a responsibility to ensure the safety of our young people right across the county. I always say safeguarding's everybody's business. I'm pleased the way things have developed and the way things is working. I think the thing for me that runs right through this report is the voice of that child. Children have rights also, and I think what we've been able to do is demonstrate just how young people's voices can be heard. I think more than ever, with where we are in terms of not being able to mix with people like we do usually with the coronavirus, makes this more important than ever to be aware of the signs and to make sure that we can any concerns we may have is shared, that the report highlights within it how people can report and make a difference. Very important report, Chairman. Alwyn's outlined it brilliantly, and so is John. Just leaves me to say I'm happy to second the report this morning and to move the recommendations outlined within the report, Chair.
Okay, thank you. If I can ask if there's anybody else wishing to speak on this item. If not, the report has been moved and seconded. Again, obviously, if there's any dissent, please indicate that through the chat function. Can I ask if that report is agreed, please?
Agreed.
Agreed, Chairman.
Thank you very much, and no dissent, so I can confirm that that report is agreed. Thank you for that. We move on to item number 9 on the agenda, which is the annual report 2019-20, the County Durham Safeguarding Adults Board. And if I can ask Jane Robinson, Corporate Director of Adult and Health Services, to present this report.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. I'm Jane Robinson, Corporate Director for Adults and Health. This is the 5th County Durham Safeguarding Adults Board annual report, which provides information about achievements and challenges during 1920 and the progress against the strategic plan for 2018-21, the peer review recommendations and the voices of adults and practitioners, and the early safeguarding board response to the COVID-19 emergency. The strategic plan for 28-21 has 4 priorities: practice and implementation, engagement and communication, performance and governance, and learning and improvement. And I'd just like to outline some of the key achievements and activities of the board over the last 12 months. In April 2019, over 100 delegates from 59 statutory agencies and voluntary organisations attended an event about self-neglect and hoarding to raise awareness of this challenging area of practice. In October last year, the board was pleased to take part in an event for providers in support of raising standards as part of the Durham County Council Adult and Health Services commissioning project to support the care provider market. Importantly, in November last year, there was a joint session between the Safeguarding Adults and the Durham Safeguarding Children's Partnership during Safeguarding Week, and a marketplace was attended by 120 people from a range of statutory agencies and voluntary sector and board partners. In County Durham, Rethink provided a range of advocacy services, which includes advocacy provision for those adults who've experienced abuse or neglect and who are currently open to and involved in safeguarding processes. The board has made closer links to Rethink to ensure we can really support adults experiencing issues. Also, the board newsletter was relaunched and cascaded to partners, to services and providers, and the board has worked closely with area action partnerships to ensure information is available to local communities on the important issue of safeguarding adults. Prevention and early intervention is supported through a continual update of staff and volunteer skill and knowledge, and the Safeguarding Board multi-agency training programme was delivered by both the business unit and County Durham and Darlington NHS Foundation Trust. And over the year, 54 face-to-face courses were able to be delivered. The board will work through its communication and engagement strategy with wider agencies, stakeholders and partnerships to hear the voice of adults and communities and to raise awareness, including Safeguarding Week next month. The board will absolutely continue over the coming 12 months on its priorities of raising awareness and improving practice, particularly in relation to learning from safeguarding adults reviews, the use of the Mental Capacity Act and addressing all aspects of adult abuse. Chair, the recommendations are outlined in paragraph 9 of the report.
Thank you very much, Jane. If I can now invite Councillor Hobbles to speak to the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. As a member of the local Safeguarding Adults Board, I see firsthand the hard work of partners to keep adults safe from abuse and neglect. The report shows achievements, and Jane's outlined many of them, made over the last year, and how we work, and this work continues to ensure that those adults who are most at risk within our communities are supported to be safe. A real positive is that adults who gave their views when asked, 97.5% reported their wishes are met the following safeguarding intervention. I especially commend the SAB annual report on a page which is clear. It's got clear images and the SAB annual report's easy to read, both of which makes it easier to understand and the safeguarding adults work. The work on the film My Story, which many of you may have seen or read about, which was co-produced with an adult, is excellent, and I look forward to my safeguarding story booklet. I also want to assure you to see the prompted response of the COVID-19 emergency, including the fraud fact sheet. It's positive that the Safeguarding Adults Board is able to evidence all the work of its partners, and there's many partners, and their commitment to make a difference locally. I move the recommendations set out in this report, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hobbles. If we can have a seconder, please, Councillor Stevens.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Councillor Brian Stevens, and I have the portfolio for neighbourhoods and partnerships. Chairman, I am pleased to receive this report, which shows the hard work of all partners to keep adults safe. It is important we report any concerns of suspected abuse or neglect to spread the message of zero tolerance within County Durham. I am particularly pleased to see how the board has used various means to do this, including our early action partnerships. Happy to second the recommendations as set out in the report, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stevens. If I can ask if there's anyone else who wishes to speak. I can't see anybody indicating at the moment. So the recommendations have been moved and seconded. Can I ask if those are agreed, please?
Agreed, Chairman.
Thank you very much. No indications of dissent, so I can confirm therefore that that report is agreed. So if we can move on then to item 10, which is the Corporate Parenting Panel Annual Report 2019-20. If I can ask John Pearce, Corporate Director of Children and Young People's Services, to introduce the report, and I'm then going to invite Councillor Ivan Jewell, who's Chair of the Corporate Parenting Panel, to address Cabinet. John.
Thank you, Chair. The annual report of the Corporate Parenting Panel is attached, and I don't propose to go into any detail around this, as Councillor Jewell is in a far better position to talk through the work of the panel and provide that overview. I did, however, want to highlight the really significant progress that's been made around our corporate parenting responsibilities. The report and the covering report outlines the progress that's been made since 2016 and the commitment the Council has given around corporate parenting that has manifested itself in many different ways. That progress and the excellent work of the panel was recognised in the Ofsted inspection in September 2019, and the subsequent nomination and shortlisting of the work of the panel for a national award through the Local Government Chronicle in the Children's Services category. I also just wanted to highlight the role of the Children Care Council in developing the annual report and their role more broadly in the corporate parenting arrangements. And I think that comes through really strongly in the way in which the report is presented and the key messages that are coming out of the report. And it very much places children in care at the heart of everything that we do and our ongoing developments around corporate parenting. So I didn't want to go into any further detail than that, but I know Councillor Jewell would like to talk through the detail of the report. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, John. So if I can then ask Councillor Ivan Jewell, please, to address Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Ivan Jewell, County Councillor for the Burnopfield and Dipton Division, and also Chair of Corporate Parenting Panel. Can I say thank you for inviting me to present this annual report. It's the third annual report in this particular format, and I've been asked to be kept brief, or to keep brief, which is a rather big ask for me, but I'll do my best. I'd like to thank everyone involved in the corporate parenting panel work. I mean, it's made up of a wide range of people. We have county councillors, we have members of the public, we have young people, and we have officers. and all have to work very well together in order to achieve the objectives of corporate parenting. And I'm pleased to say that although it's been a very difficult few months, I think everyone has worked very hard, and we have achieved and continued to maintain the service to the benefit of the young people. I hope that you've had the opportunity to read the report in its entirety, and I hope that the format and the sort of way it is produced is pleasing in the eye and also easy to read. What we have is the corporate parent panel is made up of a variety of members who have a wide experience and background, and I think this all helps. And it's also important that we are encouraging young people to be part of our meetings so that we get a real feel for what their challenges are. And I think that we've done that, and hopefully what we do is we present them with the best possible experience in life. These young people don't have an easy life, and whilst I have empathy, it's very difficult, I think, for people like myself to see the exact challenges that they get. And so this is an important part of the panel. I think that what we do is we continually ask ourselves 3 key questions. And they are, if it were my child, would it be good enough? If I were that child, would it be good enough for me? And thirdly, how could I make it even better? And I think that this helps provide a strong focus, and also lets us target what we really look out for, or what we need to focus on. I want to mention the Care Leavers Challenge, which took place again this last year, and we had 2 councillors who took part in that, and also 2 members of staff. And it's good that they go through this and try, achieve living on £57.90 a week, which is the amount that care leavers have to live on. I think it is important that they come back, and as you look within the report, they will report back the findings of their experience, and I think it enables them to see the challenges that these young people have. We encourage young people, or some of the young people, to attend our panel on a regular basis in order to share their experiences and challenges, and to give us a better idea of what it is like to be looked after children, to be looked after. The priorities for 2020-2021, we looked at subsidised transport. And we looked at that because young people brought it to our attention that they were experiencing difficulties with that, especially the older children who were maybe in further education. And so we have looked at subsidised transport. We've also looked at extending the Freedom Card, and the Freedom Card is a sort of a discount scheme, a little bit like a student discount card. I think that's the best explanation. And what it does is it allows them to go to certain businesses and get discount. It's interesting that the Children in Care Council want to get very much involved in here, and they have been involved in teacher training, so delivering sessions to teacher training courses to give them, the teachers, potential teachers, an idea of what it is like to be a looked after child. They've also had sort of a situation where they have presented, the young people have presented to potential foster carers and adopters in order to give them the child's perspective. And also we are involving the young people as what we are calling care experienced young people, and they are inspectors, so we're training them up. And I don't know how aware you are, but what we do is we carry out inspections on our children's home, and they are called Regulation 44 visits, which are done by an officer, a county council member, and we will be bringing in the young people, so they come with their perspective too, which I hope will be very, very useful. I need to mention sort of the inspection process, I feel, because I've now been a part of the corporate parent panel for almost 8 years, and I've seen changes in the way we have done the Regulation 44 visits. Initially, it was done in-house, where care home managers inspected themselves. I was always rather concerned that that would be a little incestuous, because if one manager was going to one home one week and the next week they might be swapping over, it didn't give, I think, the rigor that I sort of would have liked. We then moved on to a situation where we brought out an outside people to look at it, which worked, I think, better, but still not as well as I would like it to work. And we have finally moved back into in-house and using our commissioning team. And I'm pleased to report that that has proved very, very successful, and I have every confidence in the process. And to finish off, I'd like to thank our Terry Collins. He has been a real champion for our young people, and that has been very, very useful and very, very positive. So I'd say a big thank you to you, Terry, and I hope that our incoming sort of chief executive would take the same level of interest, or at least a member of our senior management team could take that same level of interest and push it even further. I finish there by saying I present this report for your attention. I trust it meets with your approval, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jewell, for taking the time to speak to us this morning, and for all your work as chair of the corporate parenting panel, which is much appreciated. So thank you very much, and I'm sure also you'll pass on from us our thanks to all the members of the panel for their work over the last year. If I can then ask, please, Councillor Olwyn Gunn, Cabinet Portfolio Holder for Children and Young People Services, to speak to the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. I commend this report and to you, and I thank Councillor Ivan Jewell for being here to present it, and also my thanks to all members of the corporate parenting panel, because while all councillors are corporate parents, and I stress that all councillors are corporate parents, but it's members of the panel who carry out the serious work of ensuring all aspects relating to our children who are looked after are addressed, refreshed, improved, and crucially, and this has already been mentioned by John Pearce and by Councillor Jewell, but crucially, that they involve the young people themselves. And John's already noted that young people from children in the Care Council helped to develop the annual report to ensure that their voice is reflected in it. And it is, and it comes out there. I think when you read it, you can hear that voice. And this has been a year of adaptation, and no more so than working virtually with young people. And that, I think, has been done really well by the corporate parenting panel and by the chair and the vice chair as well, in continuing the talks with the Children in Care Council on a regular basis. And in spite of the restrictions, much work has been carried out. And of course, some of it took place before March, and notably reaching the finals of the Local Government Chronicle Awards, and watch this space for later to see what happens with that shortlist. So I just want to mention actually just 4 things to do with the financial support that we are actually providing, and I think this is helpful to know, and this is what the corporate parenting panel have developed with our children who are looked after. So we have, of course, the council tax exemptions and reductions, which are implemented by the council for our care leavers, the tax scheme to help our care leavers financially, and the winter fuel allowance payments to care leavers to help tackle fuel poverty. And also we have the freedom cards, allowing free access to swimming, leisure and other activities, and the Drive project, which actually supports 15 young people a year with driving lessons. So that's the financial package, but Councillor Jewell has provided a very comprehensive outline of the contents of the report. So I'm going to move this and ask the Cabinet to adopt it and commend it to everybody. Please read it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gunn. If I can then have a seconder to the report, please, Councillor Hovels.
Thank you, Chair. I think we're all aware children from different backgrounds, different reasons come into our care. Sometimes it's death, relation breakdowns, family moving on into extended families, and all kinds of different reasons and problems. But we are all corporate parents, and we all take that duty and responsibility seriously. And it's an important report that Ivan's give today. I found what Ivan said really interesting, and I learned a lot more from him, and I'm sure the other members have. Obviously, the work that we do will be continuing, and the challenges as well, obviously, from where we are in terms and with the coronavirus places upon us all. Obviously, the work you do and developing all the time, and I know you're well supported by Olwen and the Cabinet in terms of the corporate and parent panel, and really just to endorse and say thank you to the committee and for the report this morning. I think you've presented it very well, Ivan, and take that message back to the other members that's on the panel. Happy to second the report this morning, Chair. Very important report.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hovels. Can I ask then if there's anybody else who wishes to speak on this item? There are no indications that I can see. I mean, again, if I can thank Councillor Jewell for attending Cabinet and for all the work that has been put in and for the report that has been produced this year. Can I then ask if we can agree the report and recommendations? Can that be agreed?
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you very much, everyone. No dissent received, so I can confirm that report is agreed. Thank you very much, everybody. We then move on to item 11 on the agenda, which is the Whit and Gilbert allotments. If I can ask Amy Harhoff, Corporate Director of Regeneration, Economy and Growth, to present this report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Briefly, this report seeks authority from Cabinet to make a compulsory purchase order pursuant of Section 25 and Section 39 of the Small Holdings and Allotment Act 1908 in respect of the land at Whit and Gilbert allotments. The request follows a request made by the Whit and Gilbert Parish Council to Durham County Council, Whit and Gilbert Parish Council, who are currently renting the land in question and then subletting this land to residents as allotments. The land outline is included in Appendix 2 of this report. The reason for the compulsory purchase order reflects that the land itself was put on the market. The Parish Council did bid for this land, but it was sold to a private owner in May 2019, who has subsequently served notice on the Parish Council to vacate the land, which would include the vacation of the 47 tenants who could currently sublet the land as allotments. In the council considering the reasons and needs for a compulsory purchase order, we need to be satisfied on a number of aspects. Firstly, that there is a justified need for the land use and that there is no alternative within the area that can be used for the land, that can be used for the intended use, and that we have also tried to purchase the land with the consensus of the owner. In the case of the purchase of the land, we have as a council sought to purchase this with consent of the owner, but unfortunately this has not been possible. And in terms of the justified need, and specifically Section 31 of this report sets out our requirements as a council under the Open Space Needs Assessment to provide allotment land per 1,000 head of the population, and in the case of the central Durham area where this land is situated, there is currently an allocation of 0.75 hectares of land, of allotment land per 1,000 people, whereas the local plan sets out a minimum required level of 0.9 hectares of land per 1,000 people. And so in this case, the council would consider it reasonable and important to ensure that that land is retained for this use. The recommendations of this report are set out in section 12. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Amy. If we can now ask, please, Councillor Kevin Shaw to move the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. And if I can just amplify some of the detail of the report that's just been given by Amy. Within Gilbert Parish Council currently rent a parcel of land which is subsequently sublet to local residents for use as allotments. The land was placed on the market in 2019. Unfortunately, the Parish Council were unsuccessful in their attempts to acquire it and have now been served notice to quit by the new landowners. The Allotments Act provide a popular and valuable the allotments provide a popular and valuable resource to the community, and all 47 allotment plots are occupied and a waiting list is in place for new plots. The Small Holdings and Allotments Act 1908 empowers local councils to compulsory acquire land for the purposes of providing allotments. CPO powers are given to both parish and county councils. However, where a parish council seeks to exercise such powers, it must do so via request to the county council, who may exercise the CPO powers on behalf of the parish council. Both the county council and the parish have attempted to negotiate the freehold owners to acquire the land by agreement, but all attempts have been unsuccessful. The parish council has now formally requested the county council's assistance in making a CPO in request of the land, and they have submitted a comprehensive justification as to why the county council should make the order. The county council is satisfied there is a need for allotments in the vicinity of the land and that there is no suitable alternative sites which would be available. I therefore recommend the council exercises its compulsory purchase powers in this case and follows the legal process as set out in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shaw. Can I have a seconder to the report, please? Councillor Marshall.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Taking into consideration the background information, the comprehensive justification as to why the allotments provide a valuable resource to the community, along with the previous attempts to acquire the land by agreement, I'm happy to second the proposal for the County Council to exercise its compulsory purchase powers on behalf of the Parish Council. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can I ask if there's anyone else who wishes to speak on this item? I can't see any indications. Can we therefore move to agreeing the report and recommendations? Again, if there's any dissent, please indicate in the chat function. Can I ask if the report and recommendations are agreed, please?
Agreed.
Thank you for that. No indications of dissent in the chat function, so I can therefore confirm that the report is agreed. Thank you everyone for that. We then move on to item 12 on the agenda, decisions taken under urgency powers. If I can ask Terry Collins, Chief Executive, to present this report. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Chair, the purpose of the report is to inform Cabinet of the executive decisions taken under urgency powers during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Council's constitution makes provision for chief officers to take urgent action where it is impractical to obtain authorisation from Cabinet, subject to such actions being reported to the next convenient meeting of the Cabinet. Chair, this report informs Cabinet of the decisions taken by myself and the corporate directors in the absence of being able to convene a meeting of Cabinet and/or the Council due to COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown arrangements. Chair, Cabinet is recommended to note the decision taken by the Chief Executive and corporate directors in accordance with Part 3, Table 1, Paragraph 12 of the Constitution.
Thank you, Terry. Moving to the report, the recommendations in the report, as we've heard, are to note. However, before we do that, can I ask if there's anyone wishing to speak? If not, we are asked then to note the reports. If there's any dissent, please indicate that through the chat function. No indications have been received, so I can therefore confirm that the report is noted. So thank you for that. If we move to item 13, any other business in part A of the meeting, I've not been informed of any other business. So if we can then move to item 14, the resolution to exclude the press and public. Can I ask please for a mover and seconder? Can I have a mover please?
Move the necessary resolution, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Napier. Seconder please.
Seconded.
Thank you very much for that. If we can ask if everybody agrees with that, please. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. Before we move into the private part of the meeting, can I thank everyone for taking part and to those members of the public and media who have watched this meeting. That concludes the business for the open part of the meeting. Thank you.